In one of my short videos this week, I talked a little bit about how long-term care communities, such as assisted living and nursing homes, can be more LGBTQ plus affirming. Hi, I'm Travis, founder and elder advocate of Age Well Advocacy, where I provide care management for elders age 55 plus and people who care for them. As a gerontologist, also known as an aging expert, I'm proud to support people all throughout the United States. And when we think of a community such as assisted living or nursing home or a continuing care retirement community that which has all levels of care, including assisted living and nursing and maybe even independent living, an independent living community for 55 plus, we think about ways that people can be more LGBTQ plus affirming without drawing a lot of attention to the residents in your community who may not feel comfortable being so public about their LGBTQ plus identity. And when I talk about this, we think of some of the smaller ways that we can celebrate Pride Month, for example. And having a pride flag on the front desk can show people, really, you should have this all year long, not just during Pride Month, but it can show people that you want to be affirming. And the reason why you can have bigger celebrations in your community, passing out rainbow themed foods and maybe having a drag show, things like this, a drag bingo, different things like that. You can do that. But when you're doing that, be very mindful not to draw unwanted attention to the LGBTQ residents in your community. And that means not calling them out by name and trying to honor them and recognize them unless they ask for that. Because a lot of times, what happens when people age in the LGBTQ plus community is that sometimes they have to go back into the closet or they have to be careful about who they come out to, especially as you're relying on people for some of your personal care, for activities of daily living and instrumental activities of daily living. Even if you have your personal care, you can do most of that or all of that. You may need help with cleaning. You may need someone to help you clean your house. You may need somebody to help you pay bills, to help you run errands and provide transportation. And when you're relying on people, you don't want to be discriminated against. And you have to be careful of being in situations where someone may be verbally or physically violent towards you, disrespectful. Nobody wants to go through that. And so, one example of how I've approached this in the past is when I've worked in assisted living, I have talked to residents who I knew they were LGBTQ. They they came to me and were open about that. And I provide them private opportunities to, for example, maybe they needed a private opportunity to look through the donated clothes so that they could pick clothes that matched how they identified, or having private conversations to make sure they didn't feel like they were being discriminated against. And we think about the fact that even if your staff are trained to be affirming towards the LGBTQ community and the aging community, that doesn't mean the other residents have to go along with it. You may have residents where they're not outright violent, but they definitely give the cold shoulder. They're definitely not warm and welcoming to that community, and they don't have to be. That's what a lot of people who are aging in the LGBT community think about. Not only how the staff are going to treat them, but how are the other residents going to treat them. And right now, we're living in a time where it's not really the popular thing to be inclusive and affirming towards this community. So you really have to stand out and put your business on the forefront. Like, you have to take a risk of not everyone agreeing with you when you show your support, but it comes down to your morals and values. Thinking about, do you want to celebrate this community? Because one thing that I'm always going to say, if you're willing to take a person's money, because I guarantee you a lot of people in senior living, most people, if not everyone, oh, they'll for sure take the person's money if they're LGBTQ, but are you going to recognize them as an individual and provide person-centered care, which is care that takes the person's personal interest, personal history, personal preferences into consideration when you're providing care. And this is what we need more of. This is being affirming towards this community. So, one thing that I always say is, like I've said in a past video, there is a difference between being a safe space and being an affirming space. Being a safe space is where you will make sure that the person is not in harm's way. Being in affirming spaces, making sure that the person is celebrated. And this is my community. This is part of what I do with my business, is create an affirming space for the LGBTQ plus community and allies. As a care manager, I do put it out there that I support my community and the allies, and I'll always stand by that. So I invite you to learn more about me and my services at the link in my bio. You do not have to be overwhelmed by aging and caregiving challenges, and you don't have to do it alone. You can also see at that link in my bio how to schedule a free 15-minute initial consult so that we can see if we're a good fit to work together, helping you with your aging and caregiving needs as you're caregiving for an older loved one. Take care.